To Cam Look, your daily dose of art from the Cincinnati Art Museum. Each day, a member of staff or a volunteer will share an object from the permanent collection and pose some questions for discussion. Join us each day at 10 a.m. for a new look and a new conversation. I'm Carrie Atkins-Maris, Associate Director for Community Engagement at the Cincinnati Art Museum. I have an interesting story for you today that centers around our own Walnut Hills community and museum campus. The focus artwork for this is a vase by the Rookwood Pottery and decorator Harriet Elizabeth Wilcox. The typical Google searches for artist Harriet Wilcox came up pretty short, but the little bit of information on her wiki page was enough to interest me. According to Wiki, Miss Wilcox died on May 17, 1943. As to the circumstances, her death certificate lists the cause of death as, quote, malnutrition, failure to eat because of mental disorder, end quote. A contributing factor to her death was listed as, quote, insanity due to auto accident 15 years ago, end quote. This was intriguing enough for me to reach out to Jeff Sutton with the Walnut Hills Historical Society to help me find out more. So, Harriet, or Hattie, Elizabeth Wilcox, was born in 1869 in Cincinnati to parents George and Zifla. Harriet was the middle child of 3 girls. She and her sisters would live together, never marrying their whole lives. Harriet grows up a student in her own Cincinnati public schools and is noted to have artistic ability from a young age, and later she was reportedly a student of Duveneck and Elsie Lutz at the Art Academy. She starts decorating for Rookwood at a fairly young age and is on record as an artist for the first time in 1894, and we have a vase from that year in the CAM collection. And if you know your Cincinnati history, you know that this was an almost magical time for art in Cincinnati. Hattie was born and lived in an artistic high point in Cincinnati. The founding of the Art Academy and Art Museum, Rookwood, Duveneck, all played a part. We know that Hattie was a decorator for Rookwood for most of her adult life, and we know that she likely lived with her family settling in Walnut Hills after her death, or after her father died, at 2113 Fulton Avenue. Here's a picture of that home now. Her home was an easy walking distance from Rookwood in Mount Adams and the Cincinnati Art Museum. The Cincinnati Art Museum has at least 9 of her pieces from Rookwood, dating from that first piece in 1894 up until 1927. This piece was done in 1906 and is about 13 inches high and a beautiful example of the glaze style Hattie was known for. Here's another example of hers from 1906. She would have done these pieces when she was 37 years old. But she's not listed as a major artist for Rookwood in records. There's no mention of the car accident that so affected her health anywhere. The accident would have taken place in about 1927. Hattie would have been about 58. There's a piece from that year in the collection, but then nothing until 1930, when Hattie is listed once again as a Rookwood artist. So we know that she returned to work for at least a bit after the accident. Rookwood suffered as a company after the stock market crashed in 1929, and in 1932 laid off hundreds of workers. Is that why Hattie disappeared from the records? Or was it the effects of the car accident? We don't know the details of this time, and there is nothing of note until her death in 1943 when Hattie was 74. This leaves me with some questions about the nature of Hattie's mental health and death, as well as the lack of information about it. For an artist who has 9 pieces in our collection, who lived in our community in Walnut Hills and died so tragically, we know so little detail. What I did uncover was that her last name Wilcox is spelled with both 1 L and 2 L's in different records. And Jeff Sutton with the Historical Society also noticed that her first name is spelled inconsistently with 1 or 2 T's in Harriet. Is that why we don't know more? What do you think?